Are you one of the 3 people who watched this video?
Click like and subscribe.
If you are, Lucas, we need milk. And Dad, hi! Hello! Welcome to my in-depth review of The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisicoates. If you want my more general review of this book, check out my last video, because in this video we're getting down and dirty with memory as theme. There will be spoilers. And the first way we experience memory in this book is as a character trait. And we meet our protagonist Hiram, whose main personality trait is that he remembers everything. And he's always using it to his advantage. And the first way that we see it really being used as a character trait is when Hiram is a young child and he's in the fields and he starts singing a field song for everybody. But as he's singing, he starts mimicking and copying the voices and accents of the other field hands around him. And his dad, who also happens to be his owner, shows up and is mightily entertained and gives Hiram a place to live in the big house, and he no longer has to work in the fields. And as Hiram progresses as a character, we begin to understand that it's actually his memory that makes him unhappy, because he is unable to forget all the terrible things that have happened, all the injustices, the slights, all these little things that compile and add together to eventually bring him to the decision that he wants to run away. At each pivotal moment where Hiram does something stupid or he makes a big decision, he says the same line every time. Memory was my power, not wisdom or intelligence or patience or whatever it is. So it really shows us as readers that memory is the defining part of his personality, and he really identifies as the guy that remembers stuff. And at the beginning, the most important moment where Hiram's memory as a personality trait comes into play is when Hiram's dad has invited a bunch of his friends round for a party, but they become bored, and bored nobility in Virginia in the 1850s is dangerous when there are tasking people around. So Hiram, in desperation, he invents a game where he takes a stack of playing cards that help his brother learn the alphabet. And he's memorized everything on these cards, and he plays a game where he correctly guesses everything that is written on the cards, and the quality are greatly amused. And it's this event that takes the shine off of the quality for Hiram, and he begins to realise the mask that they wear. And this brings us to part 2 of the book, where memory progresses to become not just a character trait, but also a plot device. And the second part of the book is where we meet Moses and the concept of conduction. And conduction is the name given to the magical element in this book. By remembering important moments in their past, Moses and Hiram are able to travel across great distances through the process of conduction, which allows them to rescue people who are still trapped in slavery all over the country. And it's this skill that attracts the underground to Hiram in the first place, and they start to use him for his ability to conduct. Conduct. But unfortunately, Hiram cannot actually access these powers properly because he has significant amounts of suppressed memories from his childhood, because he went through a very traumatizing experience where he tried to escape the farm when he was very young with his mum, but they were captured, and then he had to witness his dad selling his mum right in front of him and abandoning her to her fate. And later in the book, it's only when Hiram finds one of his mum's belongings that he's actually able to uncover these memories and use them to basically unlock his magical powers. And it's as we move into the latter part of the book where we realise that remembrance, memory, and conduction are actually metaphors. The act of remembering the people and the injustices of the past can bring about galvanizing people into working on social change today. And this idea crops up several times in the book, where people who are still tasked, remembering helps them to not become complacent with any equilibrium they've found. And also in the teachings of the North, where Hiram attends an open-air university and people are sharing their thoughts and their experiences and their ideas and sharing, which empowers everybody who hears it to not forget about the people who are still chained to the task in the South. At first, I didn't give this metaphor enough credit for what it was, because in my mind, the idea of learning about history and remembering people from the past and the importance of knowing what's going on today seemed like separate issues. But I very quickly realised that they're not. That in the wake of all the Black Lives Matter protests that sprung up around the world following the death of George Floyd, that these two concepts are not isolated. They're actually very closely intertwined, because if we don't remember everything that happened in the past, if we don't understand the history, then we can't fully appreciate the injustices and the problems that people of colour and people of minority groups still have to deal with today, every day, all the time. So, thank you, Mr. Coates, for getting such a simple concept through my thick skull. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into the concept of memory as theme, character traits, plot devices, metaphors for the social condition of the world at large. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope I will also see you in my next video, which I assume will be something interesting.